Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. In today's lesson, we'll be focusing on reading. We'll be looking at some reading strategies. I'm going to give you some tips that might help you with the reading examination paper, and we're going to do our first practice for reading. So, our first strategy is that you go directly to the questions instead of reading the passage. Understand the type of questions. Are they multiple choice? Are they true or false? And if they are true or false, most often you're expected to give the reason. So, why did you choose true or why did you choose false? Also, make sure that you pay attention to the instructions. If you're asked to circle the correct answer, then put a circle around the answer. If you're asked to underline or tick the correct answer, make sure that you follow those instructions. Otherwise, you will be penalized. And it's a pity to lose marks because of this. So, the second thing to do would be to select a keyword or keywords in the questions. This will help you to look for the answer when you come to look at the text. The third thing would be to scan the passage, so you don't have to read the passage word for word, especially the first time through, but you can go through it quickly to get the idea or the gist of the passage. I'm going to give you some tips that you can use for the reading comprehension examination. These are 8 effective and proven reading tips. As we go along, select the ones which you think you might feel most comfortable with. The first tip would be to read the instructions carefully, as I told you before. If you're asked to underline the correct answer or circle the correct answer, make sure that you do so. Sometimes you're also asked to provide an answer in not more than 4 words or in not more than 6 or 7 words. Make sure that you don't exceed that word limit, otherwise, your answer will be incorrect. Second tip, learn synonyms and antonyms. What's a synonym? A synonym is basically a word that has a similar meaning to another word. Notice it's a similar meaning, not the exact meaning, because sometimes the meaning tends to change according to the context. For example, synonyms for wealthy could be affluent, rich, well off, and so forth. An antonym is just another word for opposite. So the opposite of fortunate would be unfortunate, tolerant would be intolerant, able, unable, and so forth. If you're able to identify synonyms, this will help you immensely with finding answers quickly in the text. Why? Sometimes you have a word in a question and you try to look for that word in the text. But in the text, we have a synonym of that word, not the exact same word. So, knowing and understanding synonyms will help you with answering the questions correctly. Tip number 3, know what is a verb, a noun, an adjective, an adverb, a phrasal verb. This may sound obvious, but you will have questions where you're asked to identify verbs in the passage which mean, and if you don't provide the verb, you provide an adverb or an adjective, the answer would be incorrect. So let's go through this very quickly. What's a verb? A verb is an action word. For example, walk, shout, eat, sleep, and so forth. A phrasal verb is a verb and 1 or 2 particles. For example, to go out or to look up to somebody. Usually phrasal verbs are idiomatic in meanings, which means they do not have a literal meaning. You don't actually look up to someone, but it means that you admire somebody or you hold someone in high regard. A noun could be a place, an object, a person, animal or thing, a concept or idea. Remember, nouns can be countables or uncountables. So a countable noun is something which we can count, it's tangible. For example, a book. I can have one book, a book, two books, three books, four books, and so forth. Uncountable nouns are things which cannot be counted. For example, information or music or love. We cover countable and uncountable nouns in another lesson. So if you feel that you need to revise these, you can go back to that lesson. Adjectives. An adjective is a describing word. For example, gorgeous, a gorgeous young lady. An adverb is a word that describes or modifies a verb. So it tells us how something is done. It describes the manner. For example, he drives slowly. So it answers the question, how does he drive? Remember, adverbs can also tell the location of an action or where it occurred. So here, there, or everywhere are adverbs. Let's move on to our fourth reading tip. And this is understanding topic sentences. Basically, a topic sentence is the very first sentence of the paragraph which sums up what the paragraph is about. So if you understand the topic sentence, which presents the main idea of that paragraph, you will be able to move through the passage quicker and understanding what it's all about. Now, this is a very important tip, our reading comprehension tip 5, and this involves learning skills. Two skills, skimming and scanning. Skimming is when you read the text quickly, basically just to get the gist of the text, what it is all about. Scanning is when you look for keywords or specific details, specific bits of information in the text. Reading comprehension tip 6. Avoid spending too much time on a single question. Sometimes you will have a word in a question which you don't understand, or it's the question itself that you cannot understand. It's fine. Move on to the next. You have a lot of other questions to do. If you get stuck on a particular question or you get stuck on a particular word in the text, you will end up wasting a lot of time. And really, you don't have to understand every single word to be able to understand the passage. You can get most of the meaning from the context, and you can guess sometimes the answer also from the context. So don't fret. It's fine if there is a word or if there's a question which you really cannot understand. Maybe you can mark it, draw an asterisk next to the question so that you remind yourself to go back to it when you have some time. Maybe you finished the rest of the paper. Tip 7. Make sure that you're using the correct grammar when answering a question. For example, if you're expected to write the plural word classics, do not write classic, the singular word, because that would make your answer incorrect. So pay attention to what you're being asked for. My last reading comprehension tip, and this really applies to all the other examinations, is to get out of your home. And why am I saying this? Before you get too excited, you will have distractions both from outside and inside the examination center. Maybe someone is fidgeting or crying because they are panicking that they won't do well in the exam. So you will have some kind of distraction. And if you're used to working at home, maybe in your room, when it's quiet and with little to no distractions, it might be difficult to concentrate if you're not used to that scenario. So maybe it would be a good idea to do some tests outside your home. Go to a library, a coffee shop, anywhere where there are distractions that you might also find during the exam. Okay, so these were my quick tips for reading, and I do hope that you find these useful. We're going to move on to our reading exam comprehension practice. In paper 2, we have the reading assessment, where we have 2 passages adding up to 50 marks, and we have a writing task adding up to 10 marks. In this lesson, we'll be focusing on the reading. You will need to download and print the paper so that you are able to follow along with me. I'm going to start by reading out the questions, which is our first reading comprehension strategy, where we read the questions first, identify some keywords, and then we read the passage. Once you have the paper handy, you can follow along with me. Okay, so question 1. Where is the passage most likely taken from? Underline the correct answer. So this is our first instruction. Make sure that we underline. And we have a traveler's diary, a restaurant review, a travel magazine, and a travel advertisement. Now, if we look at the bottom of the passage, we have a reference. Usually every passage ends with a reference. Do have a look at that reference. And it says adapted from bbc.com travel story. So we already have an indication which one of these answers is correct. Then we have to give a reason for your answer. So again, do have a look at that reference. Question 2. Write one word found between lines 1 and 12 of the passage that shows that the people of Hong Kong attach great importance to food. Just to put you in the picture, this text is about a popular food culture tradition in Hong Kong, which is called Su Ye. And it's a midnight snack. It's a late night snack consumed by Hong Kongers between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Question 3. Between lines 1 and 18, find single words, so one words, that match the following meanings as used in the passage. So basically, these are synonyms. We're going to look for synonyms. And the words are complex, running shoes, concerns, not one but plural, eaten, business, and messy. Make sure you understand, you know what these words mean. Number 4. Mention 4 facts about Su Ye that we learn between lines 7 and 21 of the passage. Question 5. Are the following statements true or false? Circle the correct answer and give a reason for each of your answers. And we have 3 statements. The streets of Hong Kong are very lively in the evenings. Now, I've just told you that this is a popular tradition that's consumed at midnight. So what do you think that the answer is for this question? True or false? And we need to give a reason why. B. In Hong Kong, visibility is usually poor at night. And C. Hong Kongers have replaced dinner with Su Ye, which means instead of dinner, they have this snack. And we're going to find out from the reading. 6. What important role, so that's the key word there, role, mentioned between lines 15 and 21 does Su Ye have in the lives of the people of Hong Kong? Use your own words. 7. Why is Su Ye believed to have originated, so that's the keyword, origin, in China's Guangdong, I hope I'm saying this correctly, province? 8. List 4 factors that make life in Hong Kong difficult. And we have 2 more questions. 9. What do the words below refer to in the passage? And we have some pronouns over there. 10. In a paragraph of not less than 30 words and not more than 40 words, Describe the activities that visitors to Hong Kong may enjoy late at night and make sure that you stick to this word limit. Now I'm going to read the passage out for you. You can pause the video, take your time, go through the questions again and answer the questions. When you're ready, we're going to correct the answers together. Try to spend around 40 to 45 minutes on this passage, then we'll move on to the next passage. Passage 1. Even as the sun sets over Victoria Harbour, Hong Kong's streets stay full. Well past midnight, visitors can find wooden junk boats sailing across the water, streets colourfully lit by intricate neon signs, crowded night markets selling everything from sneakers to bags full of goldfish, and of course the sounds of karaoke cutting through the fog-like humidity. But despite the seemingly limitless preoccupations of high-density Hong Kong, it's the food that stands out as the true 24-hour cultural obsession. In fact, Hong Kongers revere food so much that they have even created a little-known fourth meal, Su Ye, nighttime snack, that's consumed late at night, typically between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., but any time between dinner and bed. While few restaurants are actually open 24 hours in Hong Kong, many open late, around 9 p.m., to do a Su Ye trade. Many restaurants, cafes and street stalls have special Su Ye menus, and even nightclubs can be known as much for their late-night munchies as for their DJs and glow-in-the-dark cocktails. Chinese people have a saying that you work and earn money for food, says Silvana Leong of Hong Kong Foodie Tasting Tours. It's a way to treat yourself. She explains that what sets Hong Kong's Su Ye apart from other late-night snack cultures is the quality and variety. It's not just a sloppy kebab after a dizzying night of partying, she says. In Hong Kong, lots of the late-night or all-night restaurants have full menus offering fresh seafood and intricately folded wontons. Most Su Ye options tend to be comfort-based, less fussy Cantonese classics. All these foods are a part of the daily eating habits of people, so they tend to go for the foods that they grew up with, Leong says. It's a great way for loved ones to get together and share their day. Head to any street food store late at night and you will find onion pancakes, fried oyster omelettes, dumplings, fish balls, mix and match noodles with a variety of noodle types, sauces and toppings, and sorry we're getting hungry, and a number of items served on a stick. Janice Hayes, food writer and founder of Island East Markets, Hong Kong's largest farmers market, pegs the origins of Su Ye in China's Guangdong province. Some say that in southern China we have longer days, so we tend to be awake for longer and have more meals, while others say it came from a Guangdong culture of meeting for tea or wine after dinner, she says. Ancient Chinese texts from as far back as the Tang dynasty mention the practice, but it's a number of contemporary contributing factors that have made this nighttime snack an enduring cultural phenomenon. Hong Kong's tropical heat and humidity can dampen a daytime appetite, which means that locals are accustomed to eating well after the sun has gone down. Residents often stay up late, thanks to both long working hours and a frenetic social life that usually takes place in public instead of very cramped, high density apartments. And this is adapted from BBC.com travel. You can go through the text again and go through the questions and do your best to answer each and every question. As you are practicing under examination conditions, if there are some words that you don't understand, just try to get the meaning from the context instead of looking them up for this practice. When you're ready, you can play the video and we're going to correct the answers. Good luck. Question 1. The passage. Where is the passage most likely taken from? The correct answer, the best answer, would be 3, a travel magazine. We have the reference at the end of the passage. Always have a look at the reference because you will have a question which basically asks you to look at that reference. It is not a diary because there are no dates, and usually if it's a traveler's diary we start with today, I went to. It's definitely not a restaurant review, and a travel advertisement, I won't say that it's a travel advert because it's not trying to sell anything. There are no links saying buy now or visit Hong Kong now. It's mostly imparting information. So that's why the best answer would be a travel magazine. 2. The word was revere, which means that you admire, you adore, really, you adore something. And you had the word revere, they revere food. For question 3, you had to find single words, synonyms, that match the words that you have in the task. So for complex, the word was intricate in line 2. Running shoes, we had sneakers in the text in line 3. Concerns, and remember the S, the plural form, we had preoccupations in line 5. Eaten, we had consumed in line 8. Business, there was another word, I hope you got it right, which was trade in line 10. And finally, messy, we had sloppy, the sloppy kebabs, in line 16. And these carry half a mark each. For the 4th question, we had to mention 4 facts about suya. And these were, it's a nighttime snack consumed between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Many restaurants, street stalls and cafes have special menus for this. A lot of suya options are comfort-based, not very elaborate like the Cantonese classics. And these snacks enable individuals to get together and share their day. So it's a way for them to interact. For question 5, we had to circle 3 statements, whether they are true or false, and we had to give a reason. For A, the answer is true, and you can quote, "The streets stay full even as the sun sets over Victoria Harbour." So the keywords over there were the streets stay full. For B, it's also true, and we can quote, "The sound of the karaoke cut through the fog-like humidity." And the keywords over there were fog-like humidity. C, it's false. Hong Kongers have not replaced dinner with this snack, but this is an additional meal. It's their 4th meal. 6. What important role mentioned between lines 15 and 21 does suya have in the lives of Hong Kongers? And this was to bring people together, to connect people together. 7. The answer is, it's believed to have originated from the Guangdong culture of meeting for tea or wine after dinner. 8. The 4 factors were tropical heat, humidity, long-term working hours, and a hectic social life. 9. They in line 7 is referring to Hong Kongers. They in line 20 is also referring to Hong Kongers, specifically participants of the Suya. C, you in line 22 is referring to us as readers, or possibly potential tourists. D, we in line 27 is referring to Chinese people. E in line 29, she is referring to Janice Hayes. And finally, that in line 30 is referring to modern or contemporary factors. For our last question, we had to write a paragraph of not less than 30 words and not more than 40 words about the activities that visitors of Hong Kong may enjoy late at night. You can do this by first preparing some notes, jot down some notes, and then bring together the points in 1 or 2 sentences. I'm going to give you an example. One can experience the city's vibrant nightlife by tasting some of the foods and snacks prepared by restaurants, cafes, and street stalls, specifically to celebrate Suye, which could enable tourists to interact with the locals. And that adds up to a total of 30. Okay, now you can add up your score. The total marks for this passage was 26. That's the end of passage 1. We're now going to move on to the second passage.